I started sleeping with dogs at the age of 16. My name is Amanda, and this is my story. A story I wish I had never told anyone, but I can't keep hiding. Everyone needs to learn from my story. But she kept convincing me. She told me to sleep with the dogs again. I told her no, but she kept telling me that 5 million is not enough. And it not a new thing to me anymore. I didn't even know that Cynthia had never slept with the dogs before. All she does was to bring girls to sleep with the rich dogs while she earned her own commission. I even thought she was also into the business. I never knew she was their partner. So she gave me the 5 million in cash, and then she told me to rent an apartment for myself and use the other money to set up the apartment. I did exactly as she said. Got the apartment and set it up with bed and everything needed in a house. Throughout that week, poverty disappeared for a while because I was still spending from the 5 million. The people in my neighborhood began to wonder how I suddenly changed, how I rented a new apartment. They thought I would continue to suffer after the death of my parents. But by weekend, all the money already finished in clothes and the new house I rented. I promise I would not repeat the dog business again. So I used the small money that remains to start a small shop at the front of my apartment. But the business was not moving for me. No customer was coming to my provision store to buy anything, and I was becoming poor like before. So I had no choice than to call Cynthia again. I told myself, just one last time, I would never repeat the dog business. I knew you would come to your senses. This is real business. Imagine making that amount of money every night. In 1 week you are already a multimillionaire, Cynthia says on the phone. I know, but I can't keep sleeping with dogs for my whole life. This is just the last one I will do, I said and ended the call. The next morning Cynthia came and took me to the men again. They were called the dog's family. We entered the house and she spoke with the men. She wants to do another job, Cynthia said. She is here at the right time. My dogs really missed her. They can't wait to taste her again, the boss leader said. While I stood bending my head, the house guards took me to the room where the dogs would sleep with me again. The guards were two. They both left, but one came back and opened the door. He looked at me and asked me a question. Why did you come back to this place again? I needed money, I answered. You were paid 5 million the last time. That should be enough to create a new life for you. Do you know the danger you are putting yourself? The guard asked. I seemed not to understand why he was acting like he cared. Do you care? And you are also working for this man, so you are no different from them, I said to him. Lower your voice, he said. Looks back and front. I don't like this job I'm doing. I can't even stop because they will find me. That is reason why I told you the dog business is more dangerous than you see, the guard said and left. I sat down there alone in fears. What the guard said was now sounding disturbing. What danger? The only thing is just to sleep with the dogs and go. So what danger exactly, I thought. I sat there waiting for the dogs to come and have sex with me. This will be my last business with them. I promised myself that I would never step my feet into the building after that day. Because I was beginning to think that these people can be more dangerous than they seem. Few minutes later the dogs came inside the room hungry and ready to deal with me. The men also followed the dogs and made it easy for the dogs to do away with me. After some minutes they were done with me. The dogs walked away happily. The men told me to stay inside till evening because I still have to go one more time with the dogs before I can get paid. I nodded without hesitation. Please, can I have some food? I requested. Sure, you will have enough, the men answered and tapped my shoulder. Be a good girl, they say, and left. Like 2 hours later my room was opened and another girl was brought in to stay with me. Her name was Precious. She was being treated like a slave. Big chains were on her hands and her legs. I could not understand. When the house guards left, I asked her what was her crime. She looked at me and asked me a question in return. What are you doing here? What are you doing in the dog's family? I couldn't answer her question, I just stared at her. She looked like she was beaten up by someone. I know what you're doing here. You came to sleep with dogs and get paid plenty money, but you are wrong. This place is more dangerous than anything in this world. You will regret the day you choose to make business with the dogs. Precious said to me. This is the second time someone is telling me that the men are dangerous. The fears in me grew more real. Look at me. They did this to me. They put this chain on me, they treated me like a slave. When I found out about them, I tried to escape, but they went after me. You cannot leave this business if you enter. You will think that you are making money, but no. They are using you to make money instead, Precious said. We should report them to the police. They can't keep doing this to plenty people, I suggested. But Precious just laughed. The police? This people work with the police. The police are being compromised and they will never believe your statement with no evidence. Just take this advice. Keep working with them and behave like you don't know anything about their secret, because once they find out that you know something about them, they will lock you up forever and kept using you to do their secret job, Precious said. I was about speaking, but the door opened. It was the house guards. They pushed the food into the room and locked the door. While I was eating, they brought more dogs into the room and the dogs did their job to Precious. Right before my eyes, they did same thing to Precious, even though she was on chain. Eat your food. She was stubborn and that's why she is facing such treatment. Just be friendly and you won't have to go through what she is going through, one of the rich men said to me. Precious was dragging with them, but they held her down. And that was when I saw them do something strange. They brought out their camera and were making a video of the scene. They recorded everything that the dog was doing to Precious. I was shocked. This is not about sleeping with dogs anymore. Like, I forgot to inform you previously that there were lots of rich men who has dogs that had our contacts. They often called us when they needed their dogs to have intimacy with us. I started developing itchy rashes around my pelvis and droplets of whitish fluid could be seen coming out of my vagina, too. I felt dizzy, had a headache at one side of my head. It was like an infection you get from public latrines, but I haven't used any public areas for months. I visited the pharmacy and bought some antibiotics. I took them for days, but surprisingly the infection instead of going, it seemed to be increasing. One of my business colleagues must be behind this. This must be spiritual, I said to myself. Maybe they're jealous of my success. Before the end of the week, Cynthia visited me, her eyes shining with a mix of pride and pity. I told her how I've been trying to get her all week, but have been unreachable. She told me she had been away, on the same hustle, and her line has been off for some reason. You're not looking well, she said, her voice low and intimate. Have you been treating yourself? I stared at her, confusion and wonder warring within me. What do you mean? I managed to ask. She smiled, a smile that brightened her face, yet a beautiful twist of her lips. You're having the infection. You should visit the hospital for a quick checkup as soon as possible. What kind of infection? What do you mean by the infection? And how did you know it's an infection? I asked, looking at her attentively. Remember the first day I took you to Mr. Barry's place for your first hustle? I told you that when you're in this business, you need to visit the Benson Hospital every single week for treatment. Wait. Don't tell me you forgot, she said, looking at me in disbelief. At that instant, it dawned on me that she had warned me to put my treatment issue first as long as I was in this business. It even dawned on me that she had given me the contact of the private doctor at Benson Hospital who usually did their treatment. He had been paid in private to treat certain people like us who are in this dog business. It was a confidential deal between him and women who were in the dog business. I felt a wave of nausea wash over me, but it was tempered by a strange, exhilarating sense of fear. Does it mean that I have caught an infection from these dogs due to my reluctance to treat myself? I began to question myself with fear written everywhere. The thought was horrifying, and I couldn't comprehend the depths of the twisted kind of world I had thrown myself into. I've probably been so focused on making money that I have forgotten my own well-being. Cynthia spent some time with me and left, assuring me to meet up the next day. What if Cynthia was jealous of me and was the one behind this? That was the next question that roamed my mind. Because of the fact that she introduced me into the business, I had clients than her. What if she were the one? In this life, I grew up trusting no one. I respected the saying, not trusting anyone in this life means you're careful and watching your own back. The more you trust, the more you get hurt and disappointed by people. But I never knew that this same life was also leading me to somewhere I never expected. I was alone with my thoughts, my body, and this instant load of illness. I knew then that I was truly trapped, a willing prisoner in a game of primal passion and untamed desire for M0 and pound Y. And I wouldn't have it any other way. The next day, I set out for Benson Hospital as soon as daylight struck. I needed to get well. I needed to resume business as soon as possible. Money was passing by me. When I reached the hospital, I used the contact number Cynthia had provided me with. When I called Mr. Allington, the private doctor, luckily, he picked up on the first try. I explained to him who I was and why I was calling. He mentioned that he was still at home and not yet at the hospital. His residence was located in Gardnersville, about an hour's drive away. I offered to come and pick him up, but he assured me that he was already on his way and advised me to stay and be patient for a short while. At that moment, the word patient felt particularly harsh. I was eager to feel better. I waited anxiously. Around 45 minutes later, Mr. Allington arrived. He was a slim, dark-skinned young man with a relaxed and approachable demeanor. He had an air of trustworthiness, as if he could keep a million secrets. This is likely why he was trusted by my colleagues who were involved in the dog business. After exchanging some pleasantries, I felt at ease around him. I told him that I had been referred to him by Cynthia. Without hesitation, he called Cynthia to confirm, as the nature of his business was a confidential one and he needed to ensure my legitimacy. Being new to this arrangement, verification was necessary, unlike for Cynthia and others who were regular clients. After a brief confirmation, he escorted me to his office. He conducted the necessary tests, and we awaited the results. When the results were ready, I was taken aback by the doctor's explanation of my condition. "Ma'am," he said, as he looked at me straight with a mix of concern and disbelief. "I've reviewed your test results, and I'm afraid the news isn't too good." He revealed that I had contracted a severe bacterial infection due to my constant exposure without early treatment. The bacteria, he explained, had proliferated throughout my body and had entered my bloodstream, a consequence of the delay in seeking early treatment. He emphasized that the business I was involved in demanded regular checkups and ongoing treatment to manage such risks effectively. He said that if I had come in earlier, we could have treated it with antibiotics, but because I delayed, the bacteria had become resistant. The delay in seeking treatment has allowed the infection to spread, making recovery more challenging, he admitted. The bacteria were crony in my system, and my body was too weak to fight them off. He also told me that due to the vigorous thrust and intake of high levels of semen from those animals, my reproductive system was at high risk. I was having scabies as well, an infestation of parasitic mites, sarcoptic scabii, causing intense itching in private areas caused by the mites burrowing into the skin of humans and other animals. It is easily transmissible from human to human. Secondary skin infection may occur. Human to human? I asked the doctor. Yes, it's transmissible, he answered, tapping his fingers on the table and looking at me as if awaiting my next question. In my mind, I was now clearly sure why, when Cynthia visited me, she didn't come that close to me. Since he started telling me my results, I haven't been myself. I've been completely lost and empty. I was devastated. I couldn't believe that a few moments of foolishness could lead to this. The doctor said that the infection had caused irreversible damage to my organs, and there was little they could do. I'm now on a waiting list for experimental treatments, but the chances are slim. Looking back, I wish I had never done it. The three wasn't worth the pain and suffering I'm going through now. I just want people to know the risks and to be careful. One wrong decision you make can change your life forever. I sat there, stunned, as the weight of Mr. Allington's words sank in. Scabies?